Sort of tool draw, just try and sum up that game for us.
We started well, should have been ahead. Conceded a really poor goal. It's come from a goal kick. We'd looked yesterday at 2 or 3 examples of some of their patterns from goal kicks, and I must admit I didn't see it from start to finish because I was just making a note of something that had happened just prior to that in the game. But I remember them taking the goal kick and then looking up and they're shooting at our goal, and that just can't happen. Felt then we had another couple of half opportunities and probably should have been level. And then we turned the ball over, concede a foul, which I think Cody asked to concede that foul there, to be fair to him. Otherwise the lad's just bearing down on goal. But then I think Sean has just lost his man far too easily, and they've scored and it's 2-0 and it's such a soft second goal. And that's probably just, Sean having been out for a few weeks, because that's not the Sean Hobson that I know and that we've signed. So I felt probably when we went 2-0 down, that was probably our worst period in the game. The next probably 15 minutes or so, I felt that we looked like we'd lost belief and we forgot to play. Our patterns weren't coming out. Our energy levels weren't what they needed to be. We didn't move the ball with any real purpose or pace. I think the players just went in the shells a little bit, to be honest. But half time was just all about resetting, reminding them of some of the good bits that we'd had in the half, and trying to give them that belief that we could still win the game, let alone get a point. Because there was numerous times in that first half where we got into the final third, where we put crosses in the box, where we had a handful of attempts at their goal, or had bad decision making and just didn't capitalise on some of the good positions that we got into. So we reminded the players of all them moments in the first half and challenged them to do it more frequently in the second half and play with energy and purpose and belief again. And I thought second half we absolutely blew them away, and we should have won the game without a doubt. So yeah, mixed feelings really. I think you come from 2-0 down to get a point, you've got to be somewhat pleased with that, but really I feel like I should be stood here with us having 3 points on the board and having won the game by at least a couple of goals, and we've only really got ourselves to blame for that tonight.
Yeah, as you say, 2 disappointing goals to concede in the first half, but a perfect reaction really in the second.
Yeah, but we're seeing that. It's a positive that we're seeing that reaction, but that can't go on forever. We can't keep on, and it's not so much falling behind, because falling behind is part, and having to react, that's part of football. It's probably more the manner of some of the goals we're conceding to fall behind that's the most frustrating thing. And listen, the players will be just as frustrated as I am, and as all the supporters will be, so it's something that we've got to work our way through. And the message to the players is, we probably should have maybe 4, 5, 6 points more on the board than we do. And if we did, we'd be in a really decent position. And a lot of it in the main is our own doing as to why we aren't where we believe we possibly should be. So there's no complaining. It's down to us to work hard and be better.
Yeah, as you mentioned, obviously completing the comeback, and still after that point, looked like only one team would go on and win it if they could.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they had a couple of breakaways, didn't they? And maybe we got a little bit fortunate at the end where the referee's blown up, and maybe if he'd have let it run on a couple of seconds, we could have been in a spot of bother. But no, in the main, outside, like goalkeeper making saves, things flashing just wide or over the bar, things hitting the woodwork, blocks from their defenders. You know, we could have scored 4 or 5 in that second half alone. And that's a real positive thing for us, because it's not so often that probably our supporters have maybe seen that. So yeah, I thought some of our football in that second half was fantastic, but we've got to do that and play with that foot on the throat type of mentality when the game's level, and not waiting to go behind and then having to react.
And of course, obviously good to see, one of the positives, seeing Dylan Crowe and Sean Hobson both back from injury today. Yeah,
that's a real plus for us, and they've both come through it, I think, fine from what I'm led to believe so far. Sean's obviously done the full game. Dylan's done, 75 minutes of it maybe. So they will both be better going forward for being back and having that game under the belt. That's for sure. So yeah, real positive. I thought there was some really good performances, to be honest. Second half especially, and the way that we just kind of kept them at arm's length in that second half, while keeping them pinned in and not really allowing them to come out of their half. Sam's been a spectator really for a lot of the game, but look, from 2-0 down, you get a point. You've probably got to be content with it, but also there's a massive disappointment that we've not got all 3 points.
And of course, obviously a week on the training ground now to work on things before it's Gateshead away next Saturday.
Yeah, we've not had a full week on the training ground, for a good few weeks now, with obviously so many fixtures. So it'll be good. We just need to think about the most effective way of using that time. There's obviously going to be a lot of tired bodies, and then obviously next Saturday Gateshead, which is a difficult game, and then we're back into playing midweek fixtures as well for a good few weeks. So it's important that we do some good work on the training ground this week, but it's also important that we try and just rest and recover and make sure that everybody's fresh again for not just next Saturday, but for what's going to be another challenging run.
Thank you.